He's waiting at the top of the stairs, and he's got a gun. He's got a pistol, and he's waving this thing at me. And the thing looks like it's, as big as a skyscraper, and he's waving it back and forth. And I'm thinking, I hope it doesn't go off. And well, I always had a passion for music. When I was a kid, I used to sit there for hours and hours with the headphones on, listening to records, looking at the artwork, wishing I was a rock star. When I got a little older, I thought that it was a little too late to get into that, so I was just a listener as far as I was concerned. But, I happened to be working with a guy one time who was a drummer in a local band, and I said, man, I wish I had done that when I was younger. He said, hey, it's never too late to start. And I'm like, what? He says, try being a bass player. They're very hard to find, and you could, within a couple of years of a lot of practice, and you should be good enough to play in any band around. I started playing the bass and played in some local bands and loved it, and everything else was up from there. So just a matter of time before I started creating. So I bought a little 4-track, and I went from there. So ever since then, I've been doing nothing but creating music. A long time, let me tell you. I forget the exact amount of years. It's well over 20. I got a late start in music. I was in my late teens when I started playing. I did it all the way up, I would say, to 1997 or so, including a stint in LA and a stint in New York, and until I got burnt out. And then I got married, had some kids, and started living the normal life. And 10 years later, I was back into it again. So, I've been doing the Jiggley Jones thing now since 2007. That's when I started creating the music for that and trying to develop a sound and a brand and all that. So, yeah, it's been a long time. I live actually 3 miles from where I was raised. It's an area called Coatesville, Pennsylvania. It's about I'd say about an hour's driving time from Philadelphia. I'm right on the edge of what's called the Amish country, which extends from where I'm at all the way through into Indiana, the state of Indiana. So I'm as far east as the Amish come. It's a very interesting area. Chester County, which is where I was born and raised, is a very historical area for American history. I actually married my next door neighbor, so like I said, we live 3 miles from where we grew up. I had been in California for a while, in New York for a while, a few other places semi-local to here, but I ended up coming back to this area. This is in my blood. Hey, that's what we're here for today. This is all about 2020. 1 year at a time, right? I would like to achieve success, obviously, and I would like to see Jiggley Jones become that household name. 2020, here we go. Broken Arrow. It's a really killer tune. It has a video that goes along with it. It sort of tells a story. I do write music that paints a picture. It's very visual if you have that kind of imagination. So yeah, Broken Arrow, a new single. That's always been a great question. It's so funny to listen to people talk about my music as to what they think it is. I'm not a big genre guy. I don't believe that music should be put into genres or packages, or there should be any kind of restrictions on art like that. That's a business thing. I understand it. I go along with it. My music would be considered folk, but alternative folk. Americana, that's another one. It's the kind of music to me that you have to really listen to for it to soak in. It's a unique experience. I would not be able to do it any other way than that. It just comes out of me that way, and that's who I am. That's the niche that I'm in, and I'm proud of it. Call it what you want. I just try to write good music. Okay, let me think. A story. There's one that always stands out. It was something that has created a scar in my memory, and when I tell it, you'll understand why. I'll try to make a long story short. When I was in my first band, I played the bass, and we were practicing and decided to have a little party for our friends. And there was 5 people in the band, so there was probably going to be maybe 10 or 12 people there, total. I took my girlfriend and her best friend, and we wanted to show everybody what we had been working on for the last 3 months or so. The place we practiced was an older house in the basement, and the drummer had a brother, and they didn't have any parents. The parents were gone. And the older brother, I guess he was a bit of a troubled guy. In the middle of us showing off to our friends, the brother came downstairs and was angry and made a big thing about somebody leaving the door open upstairs, and the heat was going out, which I understood and all that stuff. And he wasn't getting any reaction from anybody, so it made him more and more angry. And finally he said, "You know what, I'm just going to sell all this musical equipment and pay for my next heating bill." And I'm thinking, I didn't leave the door open. I know I've been down here all this time. The band's been down here. Other people have been coming and going. Nobody's admitting to it. I said, I spoke up first. I said, "You're not selling my equipment. I work hard for that." And it was almost like he was looking for somebody to target. And of course, I became that guy. And he came over to me and he got in my face. And the whole time I'm thinking, somebody's going to grab him, break it up, this, that, and the other. And nobody showed up. And almost like they dispersed. And he was a pretty big guy, actually, a head taller than me. And he started pushing me, and all this stuff happened within a second, it seemed, to the point where he sort of pushed me or hit me in my mouth. I sort of tasted the blood for a second, and my reaction was I just hauled off and I punched him right in the face. And I'm not a violent person, but it got me to the point where I was protecting myself, and it ended up in a full-blown fight. I mean, we were scrapping on the floor, wrestling, fighting, punching, all that stuff. I remember my girlfriend screaming, "Get off of him," this, that, and the other. Finally, I guess I got a hold of the guy, and I was riding him like a bull, and I'm thinking, this guy's too big, he's going to take me sooner or later. And of course, all this is happening within a big confused maybe 3 minutes at the most. He shakes me off. He picks up a mic stand. He's going to hit me with it. He's standing there looking at me. The veins are popping out in his neck. He's so angry at me. And he throws the thing on the ground. I said, "Everybody out of my house." And he runs upstairs, and everybody's milling around, and people were leaving, and obviously a big scene, and so I decided I better pack my bass up, and I sent the girls up to the car. I said, "Go wait in the car. I'll come up later." So anyway, long story, right? I start walking up the stairs, and here he is waiting at the top of the stairs. I'm one of the last ones up, except for some of the other band members. He's waiting at the top of the stairs, and he's got a gun. He's got a pistol, and he's waving this thing at me. And the thing looks like it's as big as a skyscraper, and he's waving it back and forth. And I'm thinking, I hope it doesn't go off, and this guy's going to kill me and all this stuff. And he's telling me, this, that, and the other. And I wouldn't turn my back to the guy. I was scared to death. I was petrified. So I'm walking with my bass in my hand, and I'm backing out of the house, and he's following me. He's waving this gun. He never really pointed it right at me, but he's waving it, and I'm thinking, that thing is going to go off. Well, at that point, we got outside. I remember there was snow on the ground. It was the wintertime, So he gets outside, and he starts yelling at me one more time. He aims the gun at my head like this, and then he goes like this, and he shoots it right above my head. And I can still, this is nighttime, I can still see that flame going right over my head. And it was like, I know I'm dead. So I kept apologizing to the guy, walking backwards. I walked all the way to my car backwards as he's yelling over in the spotlight area, at me. And I get in the car, and the girls are in there, and they're screaming, and here they're saying he shot at us. When I was in the basement, I couldn't tell, I couldn't hear it, but the first thing he did was follow these girls outside, and he shot at them as they were running to the car, right in between them, into the woods back there. And so yeah, it was crazy. I went and got the cops. Cops came, put him in handcuffs. I went and got the rest of my equipment out of the house while they had him in handcuffs. It ended up in a trial, a hearing and a trial, and he ended up getting probation and this, that, and the other. And we all survived, and the band broke up, and that was the end of that. So my experience with my first band ever was pretty harrowing, to say the least. So there you go. There's a story. And I actually wrote a song about it one time called "Story Time," and it was in a band in New York that I played in. A really good song, really good band. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, YouTube, Jiggley Jones, that's what it's under. I've got music videos from the past. I've got a couple on there that have over 150,000 views. I have different things I've done, some lyric videos. I've done these episodes, I call it Jiggley's Jones, where I'll sit and talk for 10 minutes about certain things. There's going to be a video for the new single Broken Arrow, and the video will be on YouTube, so stay tuned. I take it you mean musically. If I was just to answer that question, straight up, it'd be my kids. That's my biggest accomplishment. It's an amazing thing. If you don't have kids, give it a try. I suggest that highly. Musically, I've done lots of things. I've played at famous clubs, CBGB's. I played there numerous times. Famous club in New York, along with other clubs in New York, the Cat Club, the Lion's Den. Played on Bleecker Street a bunch, Kenny's Castaways, the Bitter End, which was a really cool place because you're sitting back there in the green room, and you're thinking, wow, Neil Young was here, Bob Dylan, all those people back in the day were probably sitting back in the same room at some time. I've played Nashville a bunch. I've done the CMA Fest down there for 2 years, 2013 and 14, I do believe it was, or 14 and 15, something like that. Anyway, I played the B.B. King's Blues Club down there at the CMA Fest. I played on Broadway, which is the main drag in Nashville, where everybody goes. I played there during the fest at the Ernest Tubbs Record Shop, which is a world famous shop with all kinds of vintage records and things, and they have a stage in the back, and anybody from country music has played on that stage, Vince Gill, etc. I've played also down there at a couple other places. I played at this was a cool one. I played at the Musicians Hall of Fame down there. A really cool place. And afterwards, I had a personal tour where I got to go back behind all the exhibits and see some of the things they were working on, which was really cool. I got to be in Johnny Cash's mobile recording studio trailer. He had made a studio that he could take on tour with him, and all kinds of famous people recorded in there. But I was in this trailer, just me and this guy from the museum, sitting in there like with all this history. The public was out behind the doors, walking the normal tour. So that was really cool. I've been in award shows. I've been down to Charlotte, North Carolina, to the AMG Heritage Awards. Got to hang out with Chubby Checker and all these old great stars and stuff, Gloria Gaynor and this, that, and the other. I did win the 2013 IMEA, this is the International Music and Entertainment Association Songwriter of the Year back then. And the next year I also won for Adult Contemporary Song of the Year, which was really cool. I love being recognized for my songwriting. There's all kinds of things I've recorded and worked with producers, Grammy Award-winning producers, guys that have played in bands and on major labels, things like that. So yeah, I've done major record showcases back in the day, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. I'm looking forward to things that are even better. So Bless Up Records, here we go. First of all, I'd like to thank them for being a listener and being a fan. It means everything to me. I would say to them, mainly people that are just starting to listen to my music, to give it time, let it soak in. It's the kind of music that it makes an impact once you've listened to it a few times, because it is a little bit on the different side. There's a lot of music out there that you can right away grasp. I guarantee by the time you've listened to it 4 or 5 times, you're either going to love it or you hate it. So, I have to say, I've never listened to an entire album and loved every song on it, even my favorite artist over the years. So, even if you love just one of my songs, that's fine with me. But give it some time, let it soak in, and I hope you have that kind of patience to do that, because these days everything's like that. Everything's about convenience. Push an app, push a button, and you're there, and this and that. But this is art, and I look at it as art, and the song has to finish before it's done. So my message to the fans is to take your time and let it soak in. So, Broken Arrow, 2020, Bless Up Records, here we go. That's my next release, and I can't wait. It's been sitting there, revving its engines for the last couple months. check out the video. It's got a story to it. It's sort of sad, but you know, it's emotion, and that's what music is, and that's what I try to bring out. Share it, spread it around. Let's do this thing. Okay.